let's say you have a multi-dimensional array and you want to convert that multi-dimensional array into a single dimensional array. Let me paste an example here. So assuming that this is your multi-dimensional array which is basically wrapped within a collect method, so it creates a collection, and you somehow wants to convert all these multi-dimensional array values into a one-dimensional array. So you want to perform some checks or whatever the reason could be, but the main thing is like how to convert this array into multi-dimensional array. The one approach is basically we can use the for each loop, and then by using iterating over each element in each array, we have to then define get all those values and save into a single one array. Now that's a long step which contains maybe up to 10 lines of code, but there is an option I show you, like which Laravel provides, like we can easily convert this kind of array into single dimensional array with just one line of code. So all you need to do is basically dump and die the collection and use the collapse method. Now this collapse method will convert your multi-dimensional array into single. So all you can see here is the items which contains array from 1 to 9. So if you want to get all the values, you can also change the method here, and there we go. Now you get 0 to 9 with keys and values as well. So this is a very powerful example in most of the scenarios where you have multi-dimensional arrays and you want to convert them into a single dimensional array, and that's really an easy job by using the collection. Now let's say I want to check on a collection or an array that if there is any value exists. So just for an instance, let me copy this collection from here, and let's say I want to check if this array or this collection contains a certain value. For example, let's say 555 or greater than 555. All I can do is basically I can chain a method which is called, now this contains method will accept a callback function, and inside the callback function we have values and keys. So I'm going to provide the items or the values. So what I want here is basically if this contains, so all I can check is basically return if the item is greater than or equals to 500, just for an instance, and I dd the collection. By that, this should return me either true or false. So if I reload the page, I see true. The reason is that because there is a value which is basically 555. Let's say for an instance I change this to 600 and I reload the page, I get false. The reason is that because there is no value which exists more or equals to 600. So that's a really cool way of using the contains method on the collections. You can also check the collection contains on values as well. For instance, you have an array which contains keys and values, and you want to check if this collection contains a certain value. For example, I want to check if this contains a price of 100 or greater. So let me just uncomment this one. So either I can use the price or I can use the desk here. So let me check if the item is equals to desk. So if that available, then it should return true. Let me just dd the collection. Now there you see I am getting a true response. The reason is that because the value does exist here. So there is another way of using the contains method over the collections. So there are two more examples which are really common and very powerful. So let me just quickly grab the collection from here. The first example is, let's say I want to check how many items does exist inside a collection. So all I can do is basically use the collection and count. So this will give me the number of items in a collection or in an array. So in this case we have 10 items here defined. There is another method which is used called call by. So if I just dump and die another method, so I use call by, And if I reload, what it does is basically this gives me an array which indicates like how many number of times the value is repetitive in a collection. For instance, let's say I have this 100 and I make it double, so 102 times. Now if I reload, and I should see 100 is basically occurred 2 times. So that's also a very powerful way of checking the values in a collection, to check if there is any repetitive value. If there is, then how many times that repetitive value is occurring. And most of the common examples, there is another example. Let's say we have a collection which contains an array, and I have another collection which contains an array of maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now I want to check the difference between these two arrays. So all I can do is basically I can reference the collection and I can apply the difference method on collection 2. So this will gives me a difference between two arrays. So if I reload the page and I check, so I get 1 and 2. So because these are the two common values, now 1 and 2 we are getting is because we are having 1 and 2 unique values in both of the arrays. So that is why it is basically finding a difference of two arrays. So 1 and 2 is basically a different from this array, is basically different from the other array. So that is why we are getting 1 and 2. And let's say if you only want to find out how many items are duplicate in an array, so all you can do is basically similarly where we have used the count by. So what it was doing is basically this was giving us a count on how many times an item is repetitive. But if you want to check if there is an item repetitive, so what are those items? So all you can do is basically you can use duplicates. So this will get all the duplicates of a collection. By using this, if I reload the page, I am getting A and B, because A and B are duplicated twice. So we have A, B, A and B again. So we do not have a C. So see that like this is not giving us a count. This is only giving us like what values are basically duplicated and on what indexes they are basically duplicated. So here we have 0, 1 and 2. On 2 we have A, and on 4 we have B. Alright, so we have talked a lot about collections, and there are a lot of more things to talk about and work upon. I think the video is getting longer and I should pause the video right here, and I will see you in our upcoming videos with the new collection features as well. That's about it, and I will see you in the next one.